5 things women notice about you before your looks. A lot of men spend years trying to become more attractive, but they focus almost entirely on the wrong things. They think, if I look better, women will automatically feel more attracted to me. So they improve their clothes, their haircut, their pictures, their body, their style, and none of those things are bad. But eventually, most men notice something confusing in real life. There's always that one guy. Maybe he's not the richest. Maybe he's not the best looking. Maybe he's not even trying that hard. Yet somehow, women naturally pay attention to him. Conversations feel easier around him. People relax around him. Women remember him longer. Meanwhile, another man can do everything right externally and still struggle to create real emotional attraction. Why? Because before women fully process your appearance, they feel your energy first. And energy is not some mystical thing. It's the emotional atmosphere you create through your reactions, your behavior, your emotional control, your body language, your pace, your confidence, your emotional stability. Women notice these things constantly, sometimes consciously, most times subconsciously, and many men completely underestimate how deeply women observe emotional behavior. Because attraction is not only visual, it's emotional. A woman can look at 2 men who are similar physically and feel completely different around each one. One man feels calming. The other feels emotionally draining. One feels grounded. The other feels needy. One feels emotionally safe. The other feels unpredictable. And without realizing it, she responds emotionally before logic even enters the picture. So in this video, we're going to deeply break down what women actually notice about your energy before looks even become the main factor. And once you understand this, you stop trying so hard to impress and start building a presence people naturally feel. 1. Women instantly notice when a man feels emotionally needy. This is one of the first things women pick up on, even before a relationship starts, because emotional neediness changes the entire atmosphere of an interaction. For example, a man meets a woman he finds attractive. Immediately, his entire emotional state shifts. Now suddenly, he's overthinking every word, forcing conversation, laughing too hard, trying too hard to sound impressive, constantly checking if she likes him. And the crazy part is, you may think he's hiding it well, but emotionally, women usually feel it very quickly, because neediness creates pressure, and pressure changes how interactions feel. For example, imagine you just met someone, and within 1 hour, they're already overly invested, overly available, emotionally attached to your reactions. Even if they are kind, it can feel emotionally heavy. Now compare that to another man. He's interested too, but emotionally, he remains centered. He smiles naturally. He speaks calmly. He listens without forcing anything. He doesn't seem desperate for validation. And this creates a completely different emotional experience. Because emotionally grounded men make interactions feel safe and relaxed. Women often describe this indirectly. He has calm energy. I felt comfortable around him. He seems secure. What they're really responding to is emotional steadiness, not performance. Because emotional neediness makes women feel like they are being emotionally pulled. But emotional stability allows attraction to develop naturally. 2. Women notice how you behave when attention is not being given to you. This is huge. Most men look confident when things are going well, but confidence becomes real when attention decreases. For example, a woman takes longer than usual to reply. One man immediately changes emotionally. Now he double texts, checks her status repeatedly, becomes anxious, starts assuming the worst, acts cold to regain control. And even if he hides some of it, his emotional state has already shifted completely. Now compare that to another man. He notices the delay too, but his emotional balance stays the same. He continues his day. He focuses on his responsibilities. He doesn't emotionally collapse because attention slowed down. This difference is powerful because women pay attention to emotional reactions more than men realize, especially reactions to uncertainty. For example, how you react when plans change, how you react during disagreement, How you react when things don't go perfectly. Why? Because reactions reveal emotional structure. A man whose emotions constantly depend on external validation feels unstable emotionally, and instability creates emotional tension in relationships. A man who stays centered under uncertainty feels emotionally stronger, not because he suppresses emotions, but because his entire identity is not controlled by temporary emotional shifts. And women deeply notice that difference. 3. Women notice whether your presence feels peaceful or emotionally chaotic. A lot of men underestimate how much emotional atmosphere matters. Some people walk into a room, and everything feels emotionally heavier around them. Why? Because internally they are frustrated, angry, insecure, reactive, approval-seeking, emotionally restless, and without saying anything directly, that energy affects interactions. For example, a woman spends time with a man who constantly complains about life, about people, about his past, about women, about rejection, even if some of his frustrations are valid. Over time, his presence starts feeling emotionally exhausting. Now compare that to a man who feels emotionally lighter. He still has problems. He still has stress, but he doesn't emotionally dump his instability onto every interaction. He can laugh naturally, stay calm naturally, handle awkward moments without emotional panic, and this creates emotional relief around him. Women often become attracted to men whose presence feels emotionally peaceful, because emotional peace feels rare today, especially in a world where many people are emotionally reactive all the time. A peaceful presence creates emotional safety, and emotional safety is one of the strongest attraction foundations that exists. 4. Women notice whether your life feels meaningful outside of them. This is something many men accidentally communicate without realizing it. A woman can often sense whether a man has purpose very quickly, not because he constantly talks about success, but because purpose changes how a man moves through life. For example, a man without direction often becomes emotionally consumed very fast. The moment he likes a woman, she becomes his main focus. His schedule revolves around her. His happiness depends on her responses. He abandons routines easily. And while this may initially feel flattering, over time it creates imbalance, because emotionally dependent energy eventually becomes heavy. Now compare that to a man who has structure in his life. He has goals, discipline, hobbies, routines, responsibilities, focus. So even when he likes a woman, his entire life doesn't suddenly collapse into emotional obsession. He still values his time, his direction, his growth. And women notice this deeply, because fulfilled men behave differently. Their attention feels intentional instead of desperate. And attraction grows differently around men whose lives already feel emotionally full. Because women generally want to become part of your life, not become the only thing giving your life emotional meaning. 5. Women notice whether you're comfortable with yourself socially. This one changes everything, because people can feel self-acceptance almost immediately. For example, some men constantly monitor themselves during interactions. You can almost feel them thinking, am I sounding cool enough? Did she like that joke? Am I impressing her? What should I say next? This creates tension, because instead of being present, they're performing constantly. Now compare that to a man who feels comfortable in his own skin. He doesn't need every sentence to land perfectly. He doesn't fear silence. He doesn't panic over disagreement. He doesn't force personality. He simply exists naturally. And ironically, that often feels more attractive, because emotional comfort creates social ease, and social ease creates confidence. Women often feel safer around men who are emotionally relaxed within themselves, because people trust energy that feels authentic, not overly calculated. That's why some men become magnetic without trying too hard. Their behavior feels natural instead of forced. And natural confidence is extremely attractive because it feels emotionally honest. Attraction is much deeper than most men think, Because most attraction is emotional before it becomes logical. Women don't only respond to what they see visually. They respond to how your presence makes them feel emotionally. Whether your energy creates calmness, tension, comfort, anxiety, emotional safety, emotional pressure, and most of this communication happens silently, without words, without explanations, without performance. That's why emotional discipline matters so much, because your emotional state leaks into your voice, your reactions, your body language, your pace, your behavior during pressure, your behavior during silence. Everything communicates something. A man who constantly seeks validation often unintentionally communicates emotional insecurity. A man who feels grounded internally communicates emotional stability. And stability changes how people feel around you. That's why some men don't need to constantly impress women. Their presence already feels different. They don't emotionally chase every reaction. They don't panic during uncertainty. They don't force attraction. They don't desperately seek approval. And ironically, that emotional steadiness often becomes more attractive than appearance itself over time. Because looks may attract attention initially, but emotional presence determines whether attraction deepens. Women remember how they felt around you. They remember whether interactions felt peaceful, whether your energy felt safe, whether your attention felt desperate or grounded, whether your emotions felt stable or chaotic. And in today's world, calm, grounded masculine energy feels increasingly rare. That's why emotionally disciplined men stand out naturally, not loudly, not aggressively, but deeply. And once you understand this, you stop obsessing over trying to become attractive externally for everyone and start building emotional strength internally instead. Because when your energy becomes calm, stable, disciplined, and grounded, people often feel your presence before your looks even fully register. Follow for more if you want to understand women better.